Let's go!
Welcome to the Din Don Show. I'm Din.
And I'm Don, and we're here for
some fun. Alright, so we're going to have a little bit of fun here today. We're going to be talking about another kaiju. One of the ones... Is he a kaiju?
No! I don't think so. He's a Titan.
Well, yeah.
We're talking about Kong Skull Island! I don't think he's a kaiju.
Well, he's a Titan. I mean, Godzilla's a kaiju.
Right, but
Right.
would you consider oh, gosh dang it, I had the thought. Would you consider and I drew a blank. Wow. I was gonna say
Kong's a kaiju. No,
would you consider this monster a kaiju? But I can't really think of a lot of monsters outside of like Japan that
Manguirus or whatever that
Megurus is still a kaiju because he's Japanese.
one. Okay. So are you saying that all Japanese monster movies are giant monster movies are kaijus then, and then some American movies are just titans then, or
Yeah, I would say that. I would say that a kaiju, and we'll have the definition up here for you to decide if I'm right or I'm wrong, and we all know that I'm right.
Wrong, sir. Wrong. It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You lose. Good day, sir.
you're entitled to your wrong opinion.
I'm entitled to my wrong opinion, and everyone else is wrong. I think a kaiju is a large Japanese creature. In fact, I look it up now. You talk to them. They don't want to hear from me.
Okay.
They want to hear from you.
So-
You're the YouTube sensation. Why am I here? Love me, dang it.
So yeah, we're going to be talking about Kong Skull Island today. We have a couple different points for why the movie is fantastic, and one of the first ones is definitely why we love it is honestly the cinematography. The cinematography was actually really, really well done in this movie, and I think it was honestly, I think we both can agree that it was better executed.
Did you say betterly?
Yes, shut up.
What is wrong with you? I'm the one that hasn't slept, and you're the one mixing up. Go
I was
home.
speaking German this morning,
Go home.
okay?
Well, that's your problem. That's not a problem. That's a great skill. I don't have that skill. I wished I could speak a different language like that.
Yeah, in German, you can actually basically say stuff like that, like betterly or like betterer, stuff like that. But anyways.
Okay, here you go. A giant monster of a type featured in Japanese fantasy and science fiction movies and television programs. Boom! This is my house.
You're not wrong about that.
This is
It's your
actually my
house.
Anyway, so Kong's not a kaiju. So,
So it's Titan. All right.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we can both agree that the cinematography was actually betterly. I'm just gonna say betterly executed.
that fine. Okay, whatever. That makes more sense to me now that you said betterly executed. Yes, I would say that. And in the cinematography, it's more than just the cinematography. I feel like that how the movie was written, how there was a balance between monsters versus the humans, their two stories. I think it just had a better story, had a better human element, had a better monster element, and it kind of all culminated in just a good movie that left me feeling satisfied. Because like we said with the 2014 Godzilla, we wanted there to be more monsters. We wanted there to be more Godzilla. And like, we thought the Mutos are cool.
Don't get us wrong, they were cool.
But
It's a Godzilla movie.
Yeah,
it's literally titled Godzilla. If you have a movie titled Godzilla, have Godzilla in the movie.
yeah, so
Sorry,
Yeah,
we're a
we're a
little bitter about that.
well, and the funny thing is like I saw King of the Monsters before I saw Skull Island. I never saw Skull Island when it came out. And the problem is, my issue with Kong is that I like the original Kong,
Mhm.
and I mean like the one that walks on four legs, like the old Harryhausen one, where he was like basically a claymation model, or the one from, and I know a lot of people don't like it, but I actually like the King Kong with Jack Black in it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's got a couple weird choices in it, and it's a long
I've never
movie.
seen that movie all the way through.
Oh, well.
I've never seen it all the way through. I need to. I know I need to, but I get to the island about halfway through the island where Kong doesn't even show up until like what was it, like hour 1.5 or something like that?
Yeah, he does have a long build up in that, and that's something that that Skull Island does very well. Is
Is
that
they show you Kong almost immediately.
yeah, the very first scene you see is of a World War II P-51 Mustang, which is an old plane, warplane from that time, being chased by the Japanese equivalent. I'm not really sure what it is, but they land in Skull Island.
Land.
Well, yeah, something happened.
They totally crashed.
Yeah, they crashed. They crash landed, so they still landed. Get it? Come on, dude. Anyway, they crash landed, and you see the American fighting against the Japanese. They're basically at each other's throats, and you see Kong appear from behind the mountain, and that's how it starts. And you're like, whoa! You get to see how big Kong is, and I guess that's where I had a little bit of issue, not really wanting to see it, because to me, a gorilla can stand on their back legs, but they typically walk on all fours.
No, yeah, you're right about that. Gorillas do walk on all fours most of the time.
Most of the time.
But yeah, I totally agree with that.
So I just kind of was like, it's not the original Kong. But of course, with Godzilla vs. Kong coming out, I figured I probably should watch it. By the way, future video. So it just was really good, and the cinematography, like, it was beautiful. They had some really good choice scenes where, like, you actually felt like you were in the cockpit of, like, some of the helicopters, or you were a part of the characters running away from
I
these
feel like
creatures.
that's actually what made it great, is you actually felt immersed into the film.
Yeah.
You actually felt immersed in the film. You actually learned the characters. You actually felt like you had a connection with almost every single one of the characters at that point. Even the one that was distant and didn't care about a single thing.
Yeah.
You still felt a connection with them, because, like, I don't know, I was like, so, because you have, I don't know about you guys, but I have those days where it's just like, you don't care about a single thing.
Nope.
And that was him. Was like, well, this is a bad day.
Just yeah. Well, everybody dies. It's like, dude, what's your problem? It's just like, some people go out looking for war. Well, what happens when that war comes? I still got my gun. He was probably my favorite guy. And going along with the characters, the difference between 2014 Godzilla and Skull Island, and I would even say maybe even King of the Monsters, and I think Den and I may have disagreed on this. Or maybe we did agree on it. I can't remember.
I don't remember what you're talking about, so go ahead.
That's fine. I'm the one that remembers things in this relationship.
Fair point.
Is that I felt like that the characters in this Kong movie had more depth and had more of a history and had more of, like, a motivation than they did in King of the Monsters. Because in King of the Monsters, I realized in King of the Monsters, yeah, you had Mom. We're gonna go back to this. We had Mom, who she's trying to fix what had happened because of the loss of her son, and you've got Dad, who's the alcoholic who ran away trying to make sense with his life, and you've got 11, who she's just realizing that her parents there's something wrong with her mom, and she tries to fix it. And a lot of the characters in it, they just were kind of like superficial, not as superficial as Ford and a lot of the actors in 2014 Godzilla. But I just didn't feel like they delved into the emotions of that character. Right. Whereas in Kong Skull Island, you've got Tom Hiddleston, who plays Loki in Avengers. I can't remember. I don't know why I can't remember their names in these movies. But you've got Loki, who he's an old England commando who's gone off the grid now and is just a gun for hire. You've got Captain Marvel. You've got Captain Marvel, who she's an anti-war photographer and journalist, and that's really interesting that she's on this trip. You've got John Goodman, who's a scientist who is scared of Kong and wants to get rid of Kong, which was a switch for me. And then you've got, of course, you've got Wreck-It Ralph, who he's a war veteran stuck on Skull Island after World War II. And all of these characters have some sort of depth, have some sort of personality that makes you love them and connect with them, which is something I think that I'm hoping will happen in not King of Monsters, in Godzilla vs. Kong.
I think it will, honestly. Because you have the little girl, you have the woman that's protecting the little girl. So at least for that little bit, there's definitely going to be
Yeah.
some depth there, at
I-
least in my opinion.
Yeah. So
Anyways.
but we liked that depth a lot. We also really liked the balance between the monsters and the humans.
Yeah, no, the balance between the monsters and humans was really, really well done in this. There was still enough human story in there that we actually got the whole story. And we got enough giant titans
Yeah.
titans fighting, Kong fighting the skull crawlers and everything like that. And one thing I really actually just thought of that I really liked, they still had the fight going on, but they still actually intertwine the human story
Right.
into it.
That's a good point too. The other thing I was going to add is I liked how even though Kong wasn't always fighting, you got to see him.
Yeah.
You got to you see him you got to see him go to the home, or to his home, to where he sleeps at night or whatever.
Mhm.
You got to see him walking around. You got to see him in pain. You got to see him you got to see him drink. You got to see him eat. You got to see the character of Kong, which is something that you see a little bit more in King of the Monsters of Godzilla. But you really kind of grow attached to Kong as you're watching this, and and of course by the end of it you're rooting for Kong.
Right.
I liked how they had different monsters too. I liked the skull crawlers.
I like the skull crawlers, not to mention the other monsters that they put in, like the giant spider, the bamboo spider. That one was creepy.
Ugh.
I was not expecting that when I first saw it, and it threw me through a loop. And creepy.
Yeah.
And then the birds as well, the razor birds.
Those pterodactyl things.
Yeah.
And then there was the giant yak.
Yeah, the giant yaks.
That was pretty. Those were pretty cool. I wonder if they would taste good in a sandwich.
Probably tastes like
Maybe.
beef. No, probably would taste like bison, in my opinion.
Maybe. Or they're swampy though. Sidetrack. But we love the monsters, and it was just a more satisfying satisfying balance between the two of them. You didn't feel like you were spending too much time with the monsters. You didn't feel like you were always seeing a battle, but you didn't feel like you were spending too much time with the humans. So, something that I don't know if you'd like this or not. I felt like they didn't hold back on who died.
No, they didn't, and I think that's probably what it was like. I completely agree with you. It was a good, but also possibly a con at that point, because we both agree with this with Chapman. He was a character that from almost immediately you liked.
Mhm.
Like he had a son back home. He's writing to his son,
Writing to his wife, wanting to go home, be there for his birthday, and
the funny thing, like the ironic thing is, the entire team is making fun of him.
mm-hmm.
They're making fun of him doing "Dear Billy, I'm not gonna be home for your birthday" type of a thing.
Yeah.
And be like, and at the very last moment when you see Chaplin die, and the team finds his not necessarily remains, but his gear, the remains of his gear, and they see how he was writing the last note to his son, and they go, "Dear Billy, one last time." It went from a funny thing to an oh my gosh, heart-wrenching thing.
Well, and I think too, I think a lot of this movie too is kind of I'm just thinking about this now, so this is off the cuff. I think a lot of this movie kind of had to talk about, the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm.
Because it takes place in a tropical area. It has people in it who are not wanting to kill Kong, which is funny because if I'm right, in Vietnam, I think they called the Vietnamese people the Viet Cong. Yeah, I think they were called the Viet Cong at one point. I could be wrong. So, but it was just to show the different balances, and even Samuel L. Jackson's character, who played the general or is he a captain or a general? I think he was a captain.
Sergeant, I think, actually.
Is he a sergeant? I can't remember what he was. So
I
Nick
don't
Fury, before the eye patch, he's a man without a war, and that's what he's known for a long time. And of course, for a lot of people in Vietnam, it was a happy day when we got to end the war, or got to pull ourselves out of the war. But a lot of people feel like that
it wasn't. I actually disagree with it. It wasn't a happy day because nobody wanted to be at war at this time period. Nobody. We had just gotten done with World War II, and so at this point, we're being thrown into another war with Vietnam, and we got our butts kicked.
Well, and what I mean is like a Happy Days. There was a lot of anti-war, and
No,
so
yeah.
there was a lot of people who felt like us being in Vietnam was purposeless. We didn't have a place there.
Hmm.
But I know that a lot of people, it probably took the wind out of America's sails because, or out of some American sails because we just kind of left the war.
Hmm.
Um,
And a lot of the men that were there, and this is honestly why I think Samuel L. Jackson did a really good portrayal of this.
mhm.
That he saw a lot of his men die. Like you can tell that he saw a lot of his men die on Skull Island and in the war of the Vietnam War. So at that point, he was a man saying this was all pointless. Why did we do this? There is no reason. All no, there's no reason to pull out from for all this loss. We need to win. That's what he's feeling. But in the end, we pulled out, and so this whole job that he's doing is his redemption story. And so, and end up, of course, he ends up dying in the end.
Yeah,
But I think he did really well
portraying that.
portraying that.
I
Yeah.
think at some moments he kind of went a little
overboard.
overboard.
And I agree with that.
I mean, acting wise, and maybe that was the purpose of it. But I think that all of the characters had their place and their purpose, and made it a very good show, very good movie. Side note, we liked the natives; they weren't cannibals.
Yeah, that was actually kind of cool to actually see that they actually they built a culture around
Yeah.
Kong. I mean, yeah, it was
That's
cool.
we got nothing more to say.
Yeah,
to that.
we got really
We
nothing
were-
more
we
to
like
say
that.
about.
We really, we really like. It felt great. And okay, so so now we're going to talk about the things that maybe we didn't like. Now realize my bullet points we only have 4, maybe like 4.5.
Right,
So 4 like in like that. So,
4 and up.
4 and I didn't really like the slow motion. Well, okay, I liked.
You liked it, but there was too much.
I felt like there was too much. Like I realized that Kong, they wanted to make it like an action movie, and they did a very good balance of it there, being story, action, and personality to the characters. But there are some moments where I was more like, "Wow, this is a slow motion scene," more than like a "Wow, this is a really epic kind of feeling thing." Like just some moments where like they were holding the gun and
Right, and you like you were saying before, you can compare that. You compare this to Avengers, where they did really well to add dramatic effect to it.
right,
But this was just like,
yeah, or like if you remember the scene in Avatar, not Avatar: The Last Airbender, we're talking about the Pandora Avatar, where there's a scene where Jake is seeing all of the Navi being shot down and killed, and
see, that's a really dramatic effect.
and see
Yeah.
that I like that more rather than just like a yeah action, let's go. Yeah, so I don't know. So that was kind of my thing. And then and the scientists, they were annoying. You did a good job.
Yeah, no, the fact that they were so annoying was actually the purpose of it.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's a con, but it's also a pro as well because they did really,
Yeah.
really good acting to make them feel annoying.
Well, and that's the thing, and this is funny because we can't just stop talking about how good this movie is. I mean, I feel like we're enjoying talking about how good this movie was compared to King of the Monsters. This is kind of silly.
King of the Monsters or Godzilla 2014.
I said King of the Monsters.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, so I don't know when that one's coming out, and then there was the pointless death though.
Oh my gosh, this one was probably one of my biggest. Okay, this is probably my biggest pet peeve of the whole movie. The movie was fantastic, but the guy that was kind of just emotionless and just didn't care about anything, the way he died, completely pointless.
We're talking about the guy who he has the 2 grenades in his hand and tries to get
He's
eaten
like,
by the big skull crawler, and then the skull crawler just whips him to the other side of the water, and he blows up. And it's like, well, that was pointless.
Yeah, that was completely.
And we're not sure if
pointless.
it was supposed to be a funny moment or like a sad moment. You're like, missed him.
Yeah, no, it was. That was probably the only scene in the entire movie where we're just like, wait, what?
Yeah, I didn't really. I don't know. It bothered you more. I know you like the slow motions. That scene bothered me less than the slow motions, just to be honest. And that's really all we have to say. But there is a thought. Din, talk about your handprint.
Okay, so in Kong's Skull Island, Kong gets injured by the helicopter propeller, and his hand also gets shredded by it, right? Later in the movie, you see him lean up against a mountain and put a handprint on it, right? I honestly think this is foreshadowing. Because in the trailers of Godzilla vs. Kong, Kong puts his hand on another red handprint. If it's another one or if it's the same one, I'm not 100% sure. We don't know.
Mhm.
I think it is the same one, and it's just been weathered away after the last 44 years. And he's actually remembering what happened there. That was his first big battle, like the
Yeah.
start of his first big battle of survival.
Or even the battle of his kind.
Or the battle of his kind, for example. And I honestly think they're foreshadowing Godzilla vs. Kong, and they're going to be starting to flesh out his story again in Godzilla vs. Kong.
So that was a cool thought too. But again, it's just a good movie. I mean, I never felt bored. I never wondered. I never questioned what their purpose was. I never really felt like that. I never really felt like I had wasted my time watching this movie. This is a really good movie. We
Really well
recommend
done.
you see it. And let us know what your thoughts are. If
Comment down below what you think. What was your favorite scene in the entire movie? Even if it was the one where he was thrown against the wall, exploding, and really no point. But if that was your favorite scene, let us know. I really want to know. We really want to know to figure out what you think of it. And
until next time, I'm Don,
I'm Den.
and we've been here
For the win.